Welcome everyone to day 5 of the C4 challenge. This is your host, Drew of Drew vs. the World, and welcome back, Drew Crew. Today will be hardware part 2. So I will be talking primarily about the Podtrac P4. Um, this device has legitimately revolutionized my podcasting from beginning to end. I purchased a Podtrac, but something maybe several months ago, and it really has been a bombshell for me. So I'm able to plug it into my computer. I'm able to use it for Clubhouse rooms and IG lives, and it's allowing me to record pristine audio through my Samsung Q2U that I talked about yesterday. So I want to talk a little bit about it and give some insight into why I'm using this type of device. So first and foremost, the Podtrac P4 is made by a company named Zoom. They have other varietals, a more complicated and a more, I guess, elevated version similar to the Rodecaster would be the Zoom Podtrac P8. It has 6 microphone inputs, but we're going to talk about the Podtrac P4. And just looking around the Podtrac P4, it has 4 DSR inputs. Um, so those are the inputs that you can utilize to put your microphones in. This one does not take USB microphones. You have to use a DSR cable that again comes with the Samsung Q2U. And then also, it comes with a couple of fancy attachments. It has 4 knobs to turn up the gain for your microphone. It has 2 switches that you can turn your microphone on or off depending on what you want to hear. Also, it has 2 switches that indicate phone and USB. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then 4 silencers, I call them, little mute buttons that you could just mute your audio completely when somebody's not talking or something like that if you're doing multiple recordings with multiple people. It has a sound pad, not super complicated like like for instance the Rodecaster Pro, but it is very useful. And what you can do is load up the sounds on your SIM card and play those on those pads. And you can actually identify which pad you want the sound to be on, and it will automatically connect it to that pad. When you have the SIM card in, it doesn't save to the device. You have to have the SIM card in. It has a knob to then turn your sound pads up or down depending on what you want the levels to be. But within the actual mechanism, you'll be able to select if you want your sound to loop back, if you want your sounds to be a certain level when they're played, and things like that. So I suggest to customize them as needed depending on what you're using the sound pads for. Me, myself, I sometimes use the sound pads to house my intro so that I don't have to do a lot of post-production when it comes to Instagram lives, my episodes, the catch-up, or also things like this where I'm just kind of doing solo episodes. It also contains a couple other buttons that are interesting. The menu button obviously gives you a menu of different features on the Podtrac. The play and pause button, it does multiple things depending on what menu you're in, but primarily I use it to re-listen to some recordings that I've done when I immediately finish them on the actual Podtrac P4. You also have the stop button, which of course is a square, and you just stop the track if you're listening to it or things like that. As well as there is the important, super important record button there that you can record on your device, on your SIM card or what have you, moving forward. Then on the bottom of the Podtrac, there are 4 knobs that actually control the sound of your microphones. And those microphones get 4 inputs as well. And then you can control that sound with those pads. So depending on how many people you have recording you at the time, you can use the Podtrac to make sure that they're able to listen to the audio in their headphones as well. The Podtrac also comes with a couple of places where you can put in USB. I believe the USB C is the part that you need to the actual cable you need to get, and then you can connect your TRSS cable, which helps with connecting to your phone or mobile device. And you're able to actually, that's how I use it for my Instagram lives, connect TRS cable to the dongle and then elevate my phone so I can record and use my microphone to record my Instagram lives, so possibly use for live streams. um, Also, important on these on the Zoom Podtrac P4, you have sections where you can connect. You actually change the channel. So instead of having a microphone channel or a mute channel, you actually have a phone channel on 3 and 4. And that's pretty useful because when you're actually using your phone, you need to connect to that channel so TRS cable could do its work. Now, this has been very revolutionary to me because as an audio interface, it's pretty simple, pretty inexpensive, right? Well, right now on Amazon, I see it for $219, but I went to Guitar Center and got it for $199. I think it might be an up price because a lot of people are creating podcasts at this time, and obviously there is an influx in people buying systems like this. Another great thing about the Podtrac is that it has a option for you to put two AA batteries. So on the go, when you're doing a interview or when you're just want to record on the fly, literally if you're flying, not on the flight but after the flight, you can use it at your leisure with two batteries. What I like to do is connect the cable, the actual USB cable, to a device similar to like a battery pack, or right now I have connected to my laptop, and it charges it for you so you don't have to worry about the power you're using for your microphone and other devices zapping the juice out of the actual AA batteries. So that is the Podtrac P4 at a very high level. I would say that if you're a new podcaster and want to have an audio interface instead of using Zoom and StreamYard and Riverside and all these things I will talk about on another podcast, you can use the Podtrac to record it because it comes in very smooth. The audio sounds very great. And like my friend Sean Connor says, it's you can use your big boy mic. So I'm going to read off a little bit of the features for the Podtrac P4 as listed by Amazon. It's a 4 mic input with XLR connectors, 4 headphone outputs with individual volume control, easily connects your phone using TRS connection, trigger sound effects using the 4 assignable pads with 11 preset sounds. I forgot to talk about the preset sounds. It comes with a couple of them, the hand claps, the chairs, things like that. But again, like I said, you can configure them within your SIM card and within the device. Automatically prevents feedback from calls, audio using the mix minus function. So when I got the Podtrac, I didn't have to set the mix minus, but I would consult your book or YouTube University and find out how to set the mix minus so that you don't get no feedback when using your TRS cable. Also, all import sources can be recorded on separate tracks. Now, this is important. So, a lot of the times when you're doing like a Zoom and something like that, the tracks get mulled together. I don't think they do it now, but they do it before, and that can cause a little bit problems when you're editing because you have to do two voices instead of one. But with multiple tracks coming out of the audio, you're able to edit each track separately, so you can find the dips and the drips of each one, and it will help editing moving forward. And Amazon calls this actually the ultimate recording device for podcasts. I like the sound of that. And yes, it also says you can call in guests. So when I said about the TRS cable and use it for IG lives, you can call in a guest and they'll be on a separate track. So you're recording your audio on one track and their audio on one track. And even though sometimes with phone calls it could be a little bit muddied, with it being connected to TRS cable, usually the audio comes out pretty good as far as them where if they were in headphones or if they're just talking directly into the microphone from a phone. Also, you connect these to the devices, like I said, like Riverside and Zoom, to actually get the audio from there as well, so that it comes in a little bit better, a little bit local, depending on what you're using. It has wireless connectivity, which you can use a secondary option with the Zoom BTA2 to get a wireless. I'm not into wireless calls because sometimes the audio is crap. So take a look at that. And you could do producing like a pro, it says. Audio interface we talked about. So I'm going, before I leave you with here, I'm going to give you a review that I looked at, and I thought it was pretty informative. Cool Wing says, if only everything in life was this easy. I've done some professional sound for movies and whatnot. When it comes to many things in life, I'm of the simple, easy is usually better. I've paid a premium for some professional location sound recorders based mainly on how intuitive and easy they've been to use. And this little recorder is just about as intuitive and easy to figure out and operate as anything I've ever used. In fact, I've had no need to even read a manual. I'll not get into all the technical sides of things. I feel enough reviewers have already done that. Plus, there's YouTube videos and scores of reviews online concerning all the stats. Also, my feeling is many opinions is that the AV field are just audiovisual, that's AV, audio field, are just subjective thoughts based on the viewer's needs, prejudice, and biases. What works for one person may not work for another. Let's not get tangled up in the weeds talking about dB, sign to noise, etc., or $200 piece of consumer gear. Unless the recordings are totally unusable, which they are not, I can't believe this piece of trash isn't on par with the latest 8K recorder for company X. Exactly. He uses that as being sarcasm. Said no one ever. Or something totally clueless. Enough rant. Right out of the box, I figured that the recorder out. Everything just seems to be so logical. 4 XLR mics is on the top and right below each is compressing gain knob. The knobs are labeled 0 to 10 and smooth turning, no clicks. If I had a subtle grip, it may be that the gain knobs had a little more tension or a raised piece of plastic next to them to prevent accidental adjustment. This actually happens once a record hits the dial. Below the gain knobs are switches with icons. The first to input have 2 switchable positions. First is the icon of mic and second mic with a lightning bolt. If you don't know, there are 2 basic types of mics, powered and unpowered. Guess which is which. So easy. The next input has 3 selections. The first 2 are the same. However, the third is an icon of a cell phone. This input, sometimes called a mix minus, built into it with the ability to interview people on cell phones. No, guess what the third selection is for. The fourth input has 3 selections as well. The first 2 are again the same as the other 3 inputs, while the third position has USB icon above it. Wow. Wonder what that could be for. So he goes on a little bit more into detail about it, but his name is Cool Wing on Amazon, and he gives a great review and some detail on the Podtrac, and I really loved it because it was one of the reasons why I brought it as well. So, this was a little bit longer episode than I imagined, but I hope that you got a lot of information about the Podtrac P4 and its ability to record a real good podcast. B, its simplicity on recording podcasts. And C, its low price point. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me at Drew vs. the World Podcast on Instagram or info@drewversustheworld.com. And again, right now I'm sipping on Four Sigmatic Coffee. If you go to the show notes, click the link, and you can get a percentage off your first purchase of Four Sigmatic Coffee. Again, it helps me with the brain fog. It helps me with continuing to create absolute great content for you, the listener. Now, again, I appreciate you for listening. Thanks for being part of the Drew Crew. And again, see you tomorrow for another episode of the C4 Challenge. This has been another episode of Drew versus World. Peace.